Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of What's on the Menu, Nate. Now we're still doing things a little bit small scale this time around. Today we're gonna continue as we were doing on our last episode on jarred foods. Now for preservatives and such, and say you wanted to save a little bit of money on say if you were doing relish and you don't want to have to spend that extra money on already processed relish. You could go with your jar of pickles. Say if like you were wanting to take a jar of pickles you just bought and it's just been sitting in there for a while, even though it hasn't expired, and even though it hasn't expired yet, you don't want to have to spend the money to buy something like this already processed. Sometimes these things can cost a little more than the actual unprocessed ones that have already been finely chopped up. Now, what you would also do to save a little bit of money. Now, I've noticed that some prices are a little bit more expensive for the processed stuff, but the unprocessed stuff that haven't been finely chopped up and minced, like the pickles, what you would do is you would put them inside your small little food processor here, and then put the top on and grind and chop it up real fine into small little chunks. Now you can do this to your vegetables, and you can also do this to just about any foods that that you want to have processed. Now you can do either now during this process, if you want to save a little bit of money on relish, or which in this episode, instead of us doing pickles and relish, nothing wrong with banana peppers. Now, if you don't have anything that's jarred or anything like this, you could also buy fresh ones and then put them in the food processor or the food mincer here, and then you can do the same thing, and then just take the contents out of there and then just put it inside one of the jars. Now, in this one, we're going to turn these banana peppers into finely minced banana peppers. So say if like you wanted to have a little bit of a hot dog, and you didn't want to put the banana pepper rings on here, and you wanted to have like just something easy, say like just getting your spoon and just scooping out a couple of spoonfuls of the banana peppers and then just putting on a hot dog or a hamburger or so, you'll already have it minced. Now what you'll do is you'll take your jar, put it in the food processor, make sure you get it all good and around in there, like how I'm doing here. Now just get your, now if you don't want to have to dip your fingers in there, just use your spoon and just get it all good and around that circle. Now you won't be able to do all of them at once sometimes. It depends on how big of a food processor that you got. Just get them good and around, make sure they get close to the sides and the bottom. Now you don't want to have it clumped up all on one side, because the blade can also sometimes jam in there. So once you've gotten the right amount that you want in there, to save the jar, put it off to the side. Take the lid to your food mincer, cap it on tight, turn it until it's right up underneath where the button is to activate it, and you'll need to hold it down on this model so it'll continue the blades to keep turning. Now this is unlike a blender. This is not like a blender where you just turn the dial and it keeps blending together. This one you actually have to hold the button down. Forget. Now once you got it all inside and you gotten the lid on and gotten it locked in place to activate the sensor under here. You just hit the button. You just grind it. You just keep it going until it's all mixed together. Look at that. That's all getting nice and mixed. And that's it. Now, once you're done doing the mince, just take the lid off and take the blade out, because the blade will just get in the way when you're trying to spoon it out. Just put it off the side here, and then just take it right off. Get your spoon, and then just spoon it out back into the jar. Now, if you do have a cup or something, or a little funnel, you can use that so so it's not going all over the place. But as I said, unfortunately I do not have a funnel to do that. So we're just going to spoon it out. Any excess juice that you have left over from it, just pour the juice into it to help it preserve and get a little bit more marinated in there. Yeah, that's getting nice and done. We'll definitely be able to use this on a hot dog or something, or per se a hamburger if you feel like in a really spicy mood. Now you can use this to chop up just about any jarred vegetable that you have, or say if like you wanted to have minced onions, you can do the same thing with that. Get a separate jar for your onions, and then put them in a separate jar too. Now you can use just about any jar that you have access to and has a lid with it. And then just make sure that you do wash the jars out. Now, if you do not have a dishwasher, you can do it by hand and just clean it out. And then once you've soaked it and everything, just put it in your dish drainer and let all that water drip off to get it nice and dry. And then once you're done, just put them back up in the cabinet once they're dry. Okay, and that's it. Now, once you're done with your food mincer, just put it in the sink, turn the water on, just get it good and washed out. Get all the excess off. How we're doing right now. Do the same thing with the blades. And the same thing with the lid. Now, if you're already pre-ready and already soaked everything down and already done that, just get a paper towel or a regular towel and just dry it off and get it ready to put it back in storage once you're finished. And just dry the excess off, and then just put it back up once you're done. Okay, and then dry the blades off. After we got them out of that soapy water, soaked for a little while too. And then just put it all back together. Blade back in there, and then take the lid, put it back on, unplug it, and then just put it back in storage once you're finished. Or put it back on top, wherever you took it down from. It's a long way up. And then once you're done and everything has been minced nice and fine. Just take your lid, put it back on your jar, and then just store it back in your refrigerator, like how we're doing right now. You take your jar of finely minced vegetable, and then just put it on your shelf in the refrigerator, and then you're ready to make sandwiches or whatever you want to use it for. And it would also help save on money too, so you're not having to continuously buy chopped or just at least save money, or at least just buying the stuff that's already been minced. Just a cheap way to save a little bit of money, in my opinion. Now, also too, you could also use this for, say if you have pickled vegetables, or say you have pickled pickles that have been aging for a good while, say for like several years, and they're like sweet pickles. You can do the same thing. You take that whole jar, put them in the food mincer, mince it up, and or say if you have a relative that has a particular recipe for something, that has a recipe for that particular brand, you can take or for their ones, you can do the same thing and put their recipe in the food mincer and make a relish or so out of it, finely minced. Well, I hope you learned a pretty good bit on this episode of What's on the Menu Nate on this episode. I'll catch y'all later. Bye-bye.